Hello, I'm Janine Turner, founder of Constituting America. Welcome to our annual academic study. This year's study is entitled The Genius of America, A Journey into Our Republic, a study on Alexis De Tocqueville's Democracy in America. Risking danger, American ships, quote, neglected precautions, end quote, and pushed their sailors further without creature comforts at the prospect of commercial gain. This was one dynamic de Tocqueville recognized as an, quote, an American trait, end quote, in the colonies before and after independence, end quote. Andrea Criswell. This essay is entitled, A Few Remarks on the Present-Day State and the Probable Future of the Three Races Which Live in the Territory of the United States, Volume 1, Part 2, Chapter 10, Subchapter 5. A few reflections on the reasons for the commercial greatness of the United States, influenced by their commerce. Quote, Hope deferred makes the heart sick, end quote, states the psalmist. Quote, but a longing fulfilled is a tree of life, end quote. This sound wisdom states the human need for opportunity, advancement, and productivity. All humanity yearns forward, organic in nature. Immobility is a death sentence to the human race. Alexis de Tocqueville in Democracy in America described American commerce related to its organic nature as one that is always moving forward. Commerce in America as a factor of American exceptionalism demonstrated unique qualities birthed out of the very nature of those called Americans. He found that geographic advantages, intellectual superiority, and moral people were the three great winds blowing on the exceptional nature of Americans and commerce. Undeniably, the American continent has geographic advantages unseen in the world. Quote, there is no people in the world that can offer to commerce deeper, vaster, and safer ports than the Americans, end quote. Risking danger, American ships, quote, neglected precautions, end quote, and pushed their sailors further without creature comforts at the prospect of commercial gain. This was one dynamic de Tocqueville recognized as an, quote, American trait, end quote, in the colonies before and after independence. Living in a temperate zone, American colonies doubled in population in nearly 22 years. Population growth mirrors hope. The American dream was realized and taken advantage of by common people. For the American, navigable waters, a climate for agricultural diversity, and fertile soil allowed for expansion. The limitless opportunities afforded by nature were embodied in the hearts and minds of the American. For the one willing to learn, to risk, and to work hard, the North American continent had endless possibilities. European industry, in de Tocqueville's time, far advanced American output, but was lacking what the individual American held in intellectual superiority. He witnessed that the American's production capacity was more general, but the sphere of his intellect was more extensive. The American was not held to prejudices in profession, nor by lag in progress, but was motivated by his sheer will to survive in the world that he built. This created, quote, an irresistible impulse on the national character, end quote. Therefore, the mentality of private industry, of self-motivation, was seen in every task of the American. No ceiling existed for the Americans. He further elaborated, quote, I think that nations like men almost always indicate the principal features of their destiny in their youth. When I see the spirit in which the Anglo-Americans carry on commerce, the opportunities that they find to do it, the success that they obtain in it, I cannot prevent myself from believing that one day they will become the first maritime power on the globe, end quote. What de Tocqueville was recognizing was American grit. As the new colonists gave way to cultivators of the land, the, quote, taste of well-being and the spirit of enterprise, end quote, became a key characteristic of those called Americans. The independent, problem-solving nature of the American rivaled any he had seen. He called it intellectual superiority because it represented a person who could do many things. De Tocqueville honored it as intelligence, but understood that its fuel was morality, moral steadfastness. The grit found in the American people was a reflection of the transformation required by the opportunity in front of them. Never before had a people been given an opportunity quite like the American people, and they embodied the time. They had already created political doctrines that other nations were borrowing. They, quote, exerted a great moral influence over all the peoples of the New World, end quote. This tilled the soil for enlightened thinking or personal advancement among individuals. All people created equal, while not in full practice, were stirring in the minds and hearts of Americans. This enlightenment was reflected in commerce, allowing Americans to participate in not only the wealth of their own land, but also that of Europe and beyond. Morality in this light referred to as a person who was willing to give all they had for the hope of success. Quote, skin in the game, end quote, combined with hard work in America was a harvest for all. Commerce, forward motion, a successful organic movement described America to a, quote, T, end quote. When the perfect soil, climate, and worker collide, commerce is a natural progression. The soil and climate offered in America, both literally and figuratively, could only be taken advantage of by the one whose moral compass directed him towards hard work. Commerce would be birthed out of this mentality. Take what is available and sacrificially give all you have for the possibility of more. The hope of the America was void of victimization, but rather full of effort and an undying grit to succeed. What Europe did, quote, piercing the darkness of the Middle Ages with its own efforts, end quote, America did in the river valleys, plains, deserts, and mountains of the North American continent, and all peoples, both north and south of its boundaries, were influenced by their commerce. Andrea Criswell is a wife, mother, and homeschool teacher in the Northwest Houston area. Graduating from both Texas Tech University and Asbury Theological Seminary, she teaches Christian worldview classes. Her passion is helping high school students become responsible young adults who critically think and learn how to solve problems.